So what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Never feel that you're the smartest one in the room.
Okay.
And, and I think the learnings behind not feeling that you're the smartest one in the room means that you're going to outwork and outcompete the others. And so if you're a founder, you always have to imagine that there's somebody else that is outsmarting or outthinking you.
Yeah.
And so the way to combat that is to outwork them, right? There is no substitute for hard work. There's no substitute for hustle. And so I think that mentality of working hard is never, it will never fail you, right?
Welcome to the EU Startups Podcast. Sit back and enjoy the show hosted by Marcin Lewandowski.
Hey everyone, this is Marcin Lewandowski and you're listening to the EU Startups Podcast. Today on the show, Trevor Neff, partner at Headline Growth, where he leads investments in software and fintech, and does some of his best founder sourcing waist deep in the Pacific Ocean. Before Headline, he put in time at Sound Ventures, Spectrum Equity, and Bessemer. From growth stage bets to salt water deal flow, Trevor, welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's great to be here. Super excited to be on.
Amazing. And I just found out just before we started recording that this is your first ever podcast appearance. So welcome, even warmer, and I hope you're going to have fun. I'm sure you're going to have fun. Let's dive right into it then.
Amazing.
Trevor, I made this I refer to saltwater and Pacific Ocean deal flow because I know that you once met a founder while surfing. What does that tell us about the kind of founders you vibe with? And, is there an investor-founder chemistry test we don't know about? And did that pitch make it to the term sheet?
Yeah, it's a great question. It was a super fun meeting. I grew up surfing. I still love to surf today. I'd say that meeting suggests I really vibe with founders that value a personal relationship, like a deep personal relationship, and that want to take the time to build that relationship. Investing at the Series B or Series C, which we do at Headline, it's still very much a long-term investment. We're going to be working together for the next 5 to 10 years. The last thing you want to do, when taking an investor on your board or when we work with a new founder is to not like the person at a genuine level. And so however I can spend quality time with the founder to really build that relationship, it's really crucial to me. And I really hope that founder values the same thing. And so, obviously we would like every investment to be simple, up and to the right. Growth is incredible, but it's never like that, right? No matter what you do or what you prepare for, there's going to be tough times, tough decisions. And I want that relationship to be strong enough to where the founder can call me any time of the day, any time of the night, and we can discuss any issue that comes up. And so really the foundation of building that long-term relationship is to get to know each other well before you ever invest. And so, whether it's surfing together, whether it's playing paddle in Santiago, Chile with a current portfolio company today at Headline, building a strong relationship is always a really strong piece of the puzzle. And it's key to the start of any new investment. And, so I guess the other part of the question, like, is there investor founder chemistry test?
Yeah.
Not one that I know of that works well. I mean, every founder investor relationship is so different. Each founder is different. It's impossible to have a standard playbook that will consistently work across the board. And so, my North Star is I just try to be a good person that I can mesh and gel with the founder, is that should be kind of that true initial building block. And then we can figure out ways to add value to the founder in other ways. But building trust for me is always number one. And that's typically done through a very personal way. And that's something, that's how business is done forever. And I think that's how it will intended to be and will be done going forward. And so I think that's really key to me. And yes, that surfing meeting did make it to term sheet.
It did.
It
Nice.
did, yes, a signed term sheet. And it's a company that's doing super well. And, we definitely have a good relationship with the founder till to this day.
Awesome. I love so many things of what you just from what you just said. The North Star of just being kind person is awesome. I can totally relate to that, and it's also something that I'm trying to pass on to my daughter. Trevor, so from Sound Ventures to Headline, maybe first, can you tell me a bit, because I'm super interested. It's just Sound Ventures is, I don't know if everyone knows about it, but Sound Ventures is a fund that was co-founded by Ashton Kutcher and Guy Oziri, if I'm not mistaken. And you have Effie Epstein there as well. They've done some of the craziest bets and most successful bets out there. They have amazing portfolio, including the best companies in the world right now. Yeah. And I don't know, tell us something about this kind of experience. Tell us some more about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great experience. Very different than kind of my prior experiences at Spectrum Equity and Bessemer Venture Partners. I think something that I really learned and that I'll always keep with me, is the ability to think big, right? Yeah. I think the biggest lesson there was to really look at the big picture to see what can go right. I think Ashton and Guy, they're dreamers. They grew up in, an environment that they're always just dreaming big. And that is definitely parlayed itself into the way that they invest, and they think big picture. How will this company change the world? What will the impact be on the world? And, sometimes as investors and growth investors, we get caught up so much in the micro, right? The nitty gritty metrics, or this metric looks off, or this one's great, that we do lose sight of the macro. And so, they've done an incredible job, and Ashton and Guy and Effie and the whole team at Sound have made incredible investments. And I think again, that recurring theme of thinking big and what can go right is something they do incredibly well. And that's definitely something I learned that I'll always take with me, and forever grateful for that opportunity that I had.
Amazing. Yeah, exactly. Because I wanted to ask you, what's one lesson you kept and one you had to unlearn while joining Headline? Did you have to unlearn anything, Trevor? Hopefully not to think big, because
no, exactly. No, unlearn anything? Not really. I think the only thing I have to unlearn is not to be able to rely on Ashton or Guy to help me break through to a founder. It's an incredible superpower that they have, and it is tough not having that, but we'll be okay. We've got different ways at Headline.
Awesome, Trevor. So Headlines, $865 million growth fund, right? Is a statement. When you look back in 10 years, what do you hope this fund will have achieved, beyond returns?
Yeah, I mean, look, the growth fund that the team was able to raise, and again, I joined effectively right when the fund was closing. The whole new team joined right when it was closing, and so we didn't help raise the fund. And so it speaks kind of volumes to the decades of hard work that the Headline team has put in and succeeded. Our three founding partners, Christian, Tom, and Matthias, they've built an incredible legacy partnering with some of the best companies across Europe and the US. They've been at this for 25 years, and they have an incredible track record alongside everyone else at Headline. And so, that track record enabled us to raise this size of fund. And the three of them, the founding partners, are all European. So that's really given us a strong foothold in the European market for a long time. I mean, we have 3 offices across Europe, split between early and growth stage. We obviously hope to continue that legacy on the growth side, it is a new strategy. It's a new team for us. As I think about, outside of tremendous returns, something, that we would like to achieve beyond that, obviously, having strong returns, that's our fiduciary duty on behalf of our LPs.
Yep.
But beyond that, I think beyond that, I'd hope that we've done a good job of partnering with founders and companies whose core values and missions align with ours. I'd love to feel that our investments have made a positive impact on society and especially on the lives of many. Here in the US, we actually just invested in a business that I think tells this pretty nicely. It's a company called owner.com. They sell software to independent restaurants to help grow their business. And it gives these restaurant owners the necessary tools to succeed and, achieve their aspirations. With such a large share of restaurant owners being, representative of kind of the immigrant entrepreneurship, we love supporting these types of businesses that give entrepreneurs superpowers to succeed. Owners doing that, here in the States as of now, but, we'll probably expand globally through a combination of these kind of AI-driven products. And we just love to be able to have that impact. And so, I guess in short, outside of hopefully amazing returns, which we would love to have, is we'd love to feel that our investment practice is, really supported local ecosystems and has made a positive impact to the lives of so many across the globe.
I love it. Trevor, as you already mentioned, Europe is getting half of the fund, I think. Why do you think now is the time for European startups to shine on the global stage?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think historically, European startups, they just haven't really kept up with the US. When we look over the past 50 years, the US has created from scratch about over 240 companies that have now a market cap of over $10 billion. And then when we look at the European side, there's just only been 14 companies that have a market cap of that size or more. No. And so there is a discrepancy of what has been built in Europe versus the US over the past. And I think there are some structural changes that makes building in Europe historically a little bit harder. It just took longer. It was, I think without capital, it took longer to raise. And now we're seeing a lot more funds dedicating capital to Europe. So, we believe that problem will be solved. It took longer to comply with local regulations, right? Moving from Germany to Austria to Switzerland to Italy to France is much harder than moving from California to Utah to Montana, cross states versus cross border is just much more difficult. But we are seeing, regulations that are being put in place to make that easier. And so I think that is another tailwind that will make it easier to grow faster. And then I think the last piece is it was also harder to hire and fire people in Europe, right? Like there is just more regulation that makes it difficult to hire people and to let people go. And I think, some of the most amazing companies that grow to be the largest, they're really good at hiring. They're really good at finding people, but they're also very good at just testing, right? And so if some people aren't working out, they do have to move on. And like that quick iterative process that the best companies have with product, they do also have with people. And so that ability to like move quick and hire and also move on has been more difficult in Europe, but hopefully will somewhat be solved going forward. And so like I think you had some structural kind of like challenges to building in Europe historically, but from my opinion, a lot of this has changed, and a lot of it being driven from COVID. Right, there was really a fundamental shift in how founders were thinking about building companies at a global scale during that period. I mean, Silicon Valley effectively shut down, and people weren't allowed to come over and effectively build in person. And so, great builders continue to build. And so they just decided to build effectively remote, or they stayed in their own cities. They stayed in Europe. And so this was a big shift. And now we're really seeing the effects of it, right? You have so many amazing companies with now local talent in Europe that are staying in Europe. And you're seeing these scenes that are just thriving. I mean, the AI talent in Paris and France is incredible. You're seeing the German ecosystem, which is just striving across lots of different categories. And so, we have so many use cases, and now we have stories of companies that are building in Europe, that this momentum shift that I think started in the COVID era has just really continued to thrive. And now, my partners who invested in Mistral early on back in 2023 have seen that company go from starting up to now being worth over $6 billion, right? Helsing in Germany, who's a European defense company based in Munich, that's raising a $600 million kind of Series D or Euro Series D. Lovable in Stockholm, which is growing incredibly fast. Revolut, which is, a modern challenger bank, which is growing incredibly fast, worth upwards to $60 billion. And so the list of these companies that are growing so fast is just going to have huge effects on the ecosystem going forward. And I think really founders and people who want to work in tech, they feel comfortable staying in Europe because there's so many great opportunities now. And so that's just an amazing trend that we love to see, and we're excited to deploy capital into it.
I was actually wondering, I know that there's no one golden scenario or secret sauce, but if there was one and you were about to name it, what's your secret sauce when it comes to helping companies go from, Series B to IPO track?
Yeah. I wish there was a secret sauce. I don't necessarily have it, but, in my mind, I think helping companies go from IPO, it's fairly simple. Like, our job as venture investors is to be constantly finding ways to help and support our founders execute the vision that they set out to execute, right? And so we never try to pretend that we know more than the founders. We don't tell them how to run their business. We're here to help. And whether this is through learnings from prior companies that we've accumulated over time, over the many companies that we've invested in, companies that have worked and that haven't, I think those learnings are always very, very valuable. Through our talent team at Headline, we're constantly trying to find them the best talent to hire, to add to their kind of bench. Through our advisory network, we offer up incredible operators to lend a hand. And, there's no secret sauce, but I guess the secret sauce is just always being available to help. And I think going back to how, you always want to be the first call, right? Like, you always want to feel that you're the first call, no matter what time of day or time of night it is, from the founder. And the only way that you can do that is if you build a strong personal relationship with the founder. And so on top of building that relationship, there has to be a relationship built on trust. And to me, that's when there's the most help to a founder as they kind of execute their vision, is everything has to be built on trust. And that just comes with time.
Makes perfect sense. Trevor, and I 100% agree, trust and the relationship between truly people, as you mentioned at the beginning, kind of the North Star of being kind, and then having this great relationship and being actually available to help. Venture is people business. Whatever you can say, whatever people say, it's about people, and it will kind of always be about people. Trevor, I know, so the other kind of moving on within the conversation, I read it somewhere that, you swear by your Filson duffel bag for every dream. Yeah. If you had to design a startup toolkit that fits inside it, what are the must-have essentials for founders?
That's a good question. The Filson bag's a great bag, and shout out to John Connolly. I think the funny story on the Filson bag is it was the first week that I had started right after I did investment banking. I started at Spectrum Equity, And it was the first week, and John, who's now a partner at Spectrum, effectively was like, "Hey, you got to change out that roller suitcase to get a Filson bag." And so we, during kind of a late afternoon, we walked to the Filson store in San Francisco, and I paid way too much for a bag that I would typically not pay for, but it has lasted me a long time and has been it's been in a lot of different places. And so what to put in the bag, I think some actually physical things, and then intangibles, like, a must-have is like insane customer love.
Yeah.
Like if you could throw that in there, you're in a good spot. If you've got a passionate team, which comes from hiring the right people, then like if I were to throw some physical items to help support a founder's, probably some pre-workout, like get ready for the grind. It's a lot of work. You're probably going to need to be caffeinated up a little bit. Some running shoes. It's always good to maintain kind of some mental health while you're going through that grind and the ups and downs. Then maybe some type of treat or like ice cream or something to be in the bag. It's like, you've got to treat yourself for the wins along the way. There's going to be plenty of wins and plenty of losses, and as a founder, I think it's really important to appreciate and celebrate those wins, because those are the things that are going to keep you going. Like, this is a long marathon, and so you've got to celebrate the wins along the way.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the set inside of the bag. Amazing, Trevor. I wanted to ask you about one thing, because I started, maybe not so recently, but since some time, I've been asking all my guests on the show about the best advice, the best and the worst piece of advice they've ever received, either when it comes to professional life or life generally, because I want to build this kind of library of great advice. When I because I don't want to ask you for an advice when I actually need it. Maybe the time is not good then. Maybe it's I don't know, too late. Maybe I already need it, right? So better I have it, and whatever I need, I just go and check. So what's the best and worst piece of advice you've ever received?
I think like the best piece of advice is, and something that I've always taken with me, is to never feel that you're the smartest one in the room.
Okay.
And I think the learnings behind not feeling that you're the smartest one in the room means that you're going to outwork and outcompete the others. And so if you're a founder, you always have to imagine that there's somebody else that is outsmarting or outthinking you.
Yeah.
And so the way to combat that is to outwork them. Right? There is no substitute for hard work. There's no substitute for hustle. And so I think that mentality of working hard is never, it will never fail you. Right? And so I think that's probably the best advice that I've been given. The worst advice, probably the worst advice that I've been given. It's a great question. I would say the worst advice is, the worst advice is to, as an investor, is trying to impose your will on a company. Okay. Right? Like, I think a lot of times some investors, they just truly believe that they believe that they know more than the founder. Mm-hmm. Maybe they've been, involved with the company. They've built a company themselves. They've had success in the past. And so if you try to impose your will on a founder, on a company, it usually just doesn't turn out right. Like, as an investor, you do not want to believe that you know more than the founder. And you always want to be kind of like the person on the sideline that is just always willing to step in and help. And so, I'd say that's probably some advice that I would save others from giving. And then, hopefully that works.
Yeah, no, 100%. It does work. I love both. The best advice, not to feel like you're the smartest in the room, because that kind of indicates you're gonna work hard and outwork others. Yeah, and the other one was kind of like similar. Also, like as an investor, don't think you're the smartest guy in the room, right?
Yeah, or
Because
just like,
you're
like I
not.
think,
You're smart. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's right. I think some investors, they try to impose their will on a company and like just don't
Yeah.
do it.
Awesome. Trevor, so now it's kind of a time in the podcast where I usually play a little game with my guests. It's like a rapid fire questions. And so fast questions, fast answers. Are you up for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it then. All right, let's go. Founder you would draft onto your surf team?
Probably Jason at Altruist. I mean, Southern California guy, likes to surf, probably can surf well.
Nice. If you could co-invest with any three people, who's on your dream VC deal team?
I'm a big pay my respects kind of guy, and so everything that I've learned in this business has been from people that I've worked with in the past, and so I'd probably take John Connolly from Spectrum, Brian Feinstein at Bessemer, and Ashton at Sound.
Nice. What a team. Trevor, like a metric you secretly ignore.
Yeah, I'd say probably LTV to CAC, to be honest. But
Okay.
the definition of lifetime value would need to be the one where you divide by monthly churn, not a metric that I pay attention to.
All right. One fintech trend you would ghost.
I mean, I don't want to ghost it because I still believe in it, but I think it's just been hard. It hasn't really appeared, so maybe it's a ghost. Is embedded fintech. And so embedded lending, like anything outside of payments for a vertical software company, has just been tough. And so I think, we're still in the early innings of embedded fintech, but probably one trend that I'm a little bit cooler on.
Nice. What's one product you're obsessed with besides your Fusion bag?
Probably just ChatGPT, right? Who isn't?
Right. Founder habit that instantly earns your respect.
Hustle.
Deal you will tell your grandkids about.
Probably Altruist. I think there's a lot of room for that company to continue to grow.
Right now, finish the sentence, Trevor. The future of growth investing is
exciting.
Nice. The best founders never
give up.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much, Trevor. This was such a pleasure to have you on the show. I hope you had fun. I loved it. I think the audience will love it as well. Thanks so much for taking the time and joining us today.